الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن سيدنا ونبينا ومولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد. قال العلماء: التوبة واجبة من كل ذنب، فإن كانت المعصية بين العبد وبين الله تعالى لا تتعلق بحق آدمي فلها ثلاثة شروط: أحدها أن يقلع عن المعصية، والثاني أن يندم على فعلها، والثالث أن يعزم أن لا يعود إليها أبدا. فإن فقد أحد الثلاثة لم تصح توبته. وإن كانت المعصية تتعلق بآدمي فشروطها أربعة: هذه ثلاثة: وأن يبرأ من حق صاحبها، فإن كانت مالا أو نحوه رده إليه، وإن كانت حد قذف أو ونحوه مكنه منه أو طلب عفوه، وإن كانت غيبة استحله منها. ويجب أن يتوب من جميع الذنوب، فإن تاب من بعضها صحت توبته عند أهل الحق من ذلك الذنب وبقي على الباقي. وقد تظاهرت دلائل الكتاب والسنة وإجماع الأمة على وجوب التوبة. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. رب زدني علما. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد وبارك وسلم. اللهم صل على محمد عبدك ورسولك وصل على المؤمنين والمؤمنات والمسلمين والمسلمات. ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين. اللهم اغفر لنا ذنوبنا وإسرافنا في أمرنا وثبت أقدامنا وانصرنا على القوم الكافرين. اللهم اغفر لنا ذنوبنا وإسرافنا في أمرنا وثبت أقدامنا وانصرنا على القوم الكافرين. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد وبارك وسلم. Alhamdulillah. Going through the introduction of the chapter of Tawbah, Imam Nawawi rahmatullahi alayhi has in a very nice manner explained to us the importance of Tawbah, and he has explained to us about those conditions which are required and divided the category of sins. Those sins which are related to directly to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala require three conditions for our Tawbah to be accepted, and those sins which are related to the creation, to the huquq al-ibad, those sins with the tawbah to be valid, there are four conditions. Three of them are same as the conditions which are related to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the fourth condition is that you fulfill the right of the owner, you free yourself from that sin by seeking forgiveness from the rightful owner, or you pay back the wealth of the person who you have took the wealth of in a forceful manner. So we mentioned last week that we have the huququllah and we have the huququl ibad, the rights of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the rights of the creation. We learn from the ahadith the importance of the rights of the creation. There are many ahadith, and even the ayat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Quran, also refer to them. In one hadith, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he draws our attention to Monday and Thursday, especially on Thursdays, that our deeds are presented to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on Monday and also on Thursday. And on the Thursday, and the day when our deeds are presented, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgives people. He forgives people. However, the hadith of Imam Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu is that Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he says that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgives people as long as the person has not done shirk. That's one condition. However, إِلَّا امْرَأً كَانَتْ بَيْنَهُ وَبَيْنَ أَخِيهِ شَحْنًا. Now what happens is that when you violate right of others, when you violate rights of others, you don't fulfill the rights of others, it creates hatred for each other. It creates disunity. You move and you separate yourself from that other person. You don't want to even look at that person. You don't want to communicate with that person. You don't want to talk with that person. So it creates hatred. So this hadith here, Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam says that on the Monday and Thursday when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgives people, those people who have hatred, those people who have disunity, those people or those two individuals are not forgiven on that day as well. Why? Because until they don't reconcile, until they don't make up with each other, their sins, their deeds are not accepted and they are not forgiven. And when hadith of Mu'atta Malik, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he says that on the Thursday and Monday, the doors of Jannah are open for them. for these people who are going to be forgiven. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgives them and the doors of Jannah are open for them. Again, except for those people who have shahna, who have hatred for each other. So if two individuals, if two Muslims have hatred for each other, then their forgiveness is on hold. The doors of Jannah is open, but they're on hold until they don't forgive each other, until they don't reconcile. And how will they reconcile? Is once they do tawbah. Once they fulfill the rights of each other. If they owe wealth, the other person gives the wealth to the other person. If the other person has hurt him verbally, he goes and humbles himself and he seeks forgiveness from that person. So until this doesn't happen, our deeds are on hold. The acceptance of our deeds are on hold. The doors of a Jannah are open, but we are on hold until we don't reconcile and connect ourselves and bring unity within ourselves. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, again, in the hadith of Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, a very long hadith, where Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam draws our attention to the Day of Judgment. And he draws our attention to the Day of Judgment very beautiful manner. So he says to the Sahaba that, do you know who a bankrupt person is? Who's a bankrupt? Who's a muflis? In our worldly aspect, the Sahaba explained that a muflis and a bankrupt person, he doesn't have any wealth, he's lost his possession, that's a bankrupt person. So Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he said, no, my ummati, a person from my ummati will come on the Day of Judgment. He will come with mountains of rewards of salah, of zakah, and other good deeds. However, وَقَدْ شَتَمَ هَذَا وَقَذَفَ هَذَا وَأَكَلَ مَالَ هَذَا. He has hurt this person, he has insulted another person, he has slandered another person, he has took wealth of the other person, blood of another person, he has hit another person. On all of these things, what will happen is فَيُعْطَى هَذَا مِنْ حَسَنَاتِهِ وَهَذَا مِنْ حَسَنَاتِهِ. Now what will happen is that on the Day of Judgment, those people who have hurt, they will stand in a queue and they will ask for justice on that day. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will take our good deeds, He will take the good deeds of this individual who has come with mountains of rewards, and it will be distributed to the rightful owners. That if he has hurt somebody, have insulted somebody, and he has took the wealth of a person, all of these will be distributed to those people who are in the queue, who are in the line. It could be possible, the 10 people, out of them, 7 of them have been paid off. Now the last 3 are remaining. Again, the last 3 are also asking for justice as well. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will look at the rewards and there's no rewards left. The mountains of rewards have been distributed to those 7 individuals and they have all gone. There's 3 people still left. There, justice needs to take place. Now what will happen is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will take the sins of those 3 individuals and will put into this person's sins, in his book of records, in his deeds. Now imagine on that day, you will think that, alhamdulillah, I've got so much reward because through salah, through zakah, through hajj, through sawm, but you have hurt other person, you have violated the right of others, and all of these will be distributed. So this is what you're bankrupt, a person who is bankrupt. So we need to try to realize that, alhamdulillah, whilst we are trying to fulfill the rights of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we need to ensure that we are also taking care of the rights of the creation. Rights of the creation as well. Now if you look in the book of fiqh, book of Masail, the Mufti Taqi Samad Barakatuh, he explains that, for example, you've got the Hidayah Sharif. Those who study Alim course, we will come through Al-Hidayah, the Hidayah Sharif. Hidayah Sharif is book of Masail and is in 4 volumes. The first volume is related to Huququllah, to Ibadat, Salah, Sawm, Hajj, Zakah. They're all related to those. Namaz, Taharat. The last remaining 3, they're all related to Mu'asharat, our akhlaq, our transactions, our dealings, our social life. So 3 volumes are related to the Huquq al-Ibad and 1 volume is related to Huququllah. So we understand how important it is for us to take care of Huququllah and as long as at the same time Huquq al-Ibad as well. A person came to Dr. Abdul Hayy Arifi rahmatullahi alayhi and he said that, look, I've done so much effort and struggle that I have reached a level of ihsan. Now what is the level of ihsan? You'll study in the hadith of Jibreel alayhi salatu wasalam. The level of ihsan is that a person, he does ibadat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in such a way that he has this vision that he is watching Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If not that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is watching him. So that level of ihsan is, through struggle and effort, he'll be able to have that. So this person came and he praises himself and he tells Dr. Abdul Hayy Arifi rahmatullahi alayhi that I've got this quality in my life. I've got this quality in my life. So he asks, what do you mean? So he goes, when I pray my salah, I pray in such a way that is as though I'm watching Allah or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is watching me. When I do another ibadat, it happens to that. It happens in the same manner. So Dr. Sahib rahmatullahi alayhi asked that, okay, what happens when you go home? What happens when you, with your family members? Do you have the same level of ihsan? Do you have the same level of consciousness? So he says that, what do you mean by that? So the Dr. Arif Rahmatullahi Alayhi explains that, the way you thinking that you have the ihsan in your ibadat, you also have to have the ihsan when you are in your family members. When you are within your family members, do you remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then? So you can implement that in the other places as well, when you're with your colleagues, your friends, in the outer circle as well. When you are in front of them, do you remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Or do you think that our religion is only restricted to the masjid, or our religion is only restricted to namaz and zakat and hajj and so? That's not the right thing. Our iman, our religion is great. As you mentioned, only 1/4 of our religion is related to the ahkam of namaz and roza and hajj and zakah. The rest of the 3/4 is related to the huquq al-ibad. It is important for us to understand that we are fulfilling the rights of the ibad, the creation. Now, Imam Nawawi rahmatullahi alayhi, in his introduction, when he's talking about the 4th condition, in one of them he draws our attention towards one sin which has become very common. Now, you think of Imam Nawawi rahmatullahi alayhi, how many years ago he mentioned this. Now we see that sin is even more common, and that is sin of ghibat, backbiting, talking about another person in his absence, especially if the person dislikes that discussion. So that is ghibat. Now that has become very, very common. It has become so common that a person doesn't even realize that he's involved in that sin. That he doesn't even realize. People don't even take that as a sin. He doesn't regard that as a sin. Now when this sort of thing, sin become norm, then what will happen is that the tawfiq of tawbah will be taken away. You don't think of that as a sin, then you won't think of doing tawbah from that sin, because you didn't regard that as a sin. But it's important for us to realize that the sin of ghibat is more severe at times than drinking alcohol. Because when a person has drunk alcohol, it's between him and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But when a person has done ghibat, then there's another station in the middle. He has to go through that person for that sin to be forgiven. Until the other person doesn't forgive you, then your sin will be on yourself and you'll be facing the punishments for it. Generally, we know that there's the punishment for ghibat, on the Day of Judgment, and as though we're eating the other person's, flesh and body. Now, in the hadith of Al-Isra wal-Mi'raj, when you study the hadith of Al-Isra wal-Mi'raj, where Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam explains about his journey. Now, this Al-Isra wal-Mi'raj is a very detailed journey. So in one there, Anas bin Malik rahmatullahi alayhi, he narrates from Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam that when I was taken for this Al-Isra wal-Mi'raj, I went past a qawm, I went past a people that azfarum min nuhasin. Their nails were made out of metal. Their nails were made out of metal, hooks. Now just pause here for a moment. Now we may have seen, when a child has dry skin, and with short nails, our normal nails, when we, itch and scratch, imagine how much damage it causes to the skin. How painful it is to see that child suffering from that condition. And especially if he's around the body and that child is suffering and he's itching himself and scratching himself, how much blood comes out of that person's child. Now, that's only short nails, which is made out of our nails. Now, imagine if the person had metal nails and he was to draw those metal nails along his face. Along his face. So this is what hadith of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he says that these people yakhmushuna wujuhahum wa sudurahum. These people are using these nails on their hands and clawing at their faces and their chests. They're drawing themselves on the chest, on their faces and their necks all the way down. This is one of the punishments of the doing ghibat. So we should try to understand that ghibat is a sin that we need to try to refrain from. Now, there are many ways to try to refrain from them. One of them is that in a gathering, whenever you realize that the topic of another person is brought up, immediately you change the topic. Immediately you should just interrupt and just draw the attention towards something else. You find so many examples of this. Some people realize the sin, and Imam Abu Hanifa rahmatullahi, as far as I remember, since he became baligh, he said, I've never done ghibat of anybody. If I was to do ghibat, I'll do ghibat of my mother. Why? Because my good deeds will go to her. She's the most deserving that to take my deeds. So you have so many examples of this, probably nowadays as well. And inshallah, there will be people that in the gathering, if discussion of the third person was to come, immediately change the topic. So that's one practical way of saving yourself from a ghibah, especially if you have the control and the ability to control the gathering and to change the topic. Now, if you've done ghibat of somebody, what do we do? So Imam Nawawi rahmatullahi alayhi said that you have to seek forgiveness from that person. Now, we mentioned as well that there's two possibilities here. If you were to tell that person and inform the other person that I said this about yourself, it's possible that person won't be hurt. He won't bring hatred. If that's the case, then you just openly tell the person. By telling the other person, it could make him realize that the faults inside him. It's possible there is a fault. It's possible there is a fault. However, if you think that by me mentioning the discussion, it could bring hatred, it could cause more taklif, then the scholars explain that if you were just to keep it general and ask for forgiveness, that could be also permissible. And at the same time, what you do is you praise that person now. In his presence, to him, start praising that person. So when you start praising that person, the ill feeling that you had and the wrong thoughts that you have of the other person and the ghibat that you've done, inshallah, that will be forgiven. Now, if the person is not present anymore, he has passed away, then there's few things you can do. One is seek forgiveness on behalf of that person, make dua for forgiveness for that person, make dua for high ranks in Jannah, and his family members that he has left behind. You have good conduct with those people, with the family. Treat them, give them gifts, have good life with them, social life, interaction with them. Then inshallah, in this way, that person will also become happy with you as well, and do as much as sawab as much as possible. Now, seeking forgiveness is really, really important. And we have two things here. One is istighfar and one is tawbah. You have two words that we normally hear. One is istighfar, the second is tawbah. Now, istighfar is seeking forgiveness from the sins of our past life. That's istighfar. And tawbah has both, seeking forgiveness from the past life and also making intention of in the future. So tawbah has to have istighfar. Tawbah has to have istighfar. So when you do tawbah, automatically istighfar has to come in there. If istighfar is not in there, then obviously the condition won't be met. Then that means that the tawbah will not be valid. Now, just to conclude on a few points, we might have received an audio clip about the dream a person had regarding Hadrat Mufti Taqi Sahib Damat Barakatuh. Person from Peshawar, Maulana Habibullah or Habibur Rahman, he said that he sent a message that I saw in a dream that Hadrat Mufti Taqi Sahib Damat Barakatuh, this Maulana Habibullah himself, he said that I am crippled and I'm disabled, so I'm on a wheelchair all the time. So he says, I saw yourself in my dream, and there were other scholars. We decided to meet Hadrat Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Everybody met Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and near the end when it came to our turn, we also met Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam turned around to you and he said, O Taqi Uthmani, make a habit of doing istighfar in the following manner. And tell this to the ummah because there's a big calamity coming towards you. So you need to seek forgiveness. And the words that Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam told this person in the dream from the ahadith as well, as far as I remember is in Sahih Muslim as well, the words of the istighfar is, Allahumma ghfirli dhanbi kullahu diqqahu wa jillahu wa awwalahu wa akhirahu wa alaniyatahu wa sirrahu. Allahumma ghfirli dhanbi kullahu diqqahu wa jillahu wa awwalahu wa akhirahu wa alaniyatahu wa sirrahu. That, O Allah, forgive my sins, all of them, kullahu, all of them. Diqqahu wa jillahu, those sins which are small and which are great. Wa awwalahu wa akhirahu, those sins which I've done first and the last. Wa alaniyatahu wa sirrahu, and those sins which are done in the open and in the secret. So this is a dua that we take from today, that we're going to try to make. If we learn the Arabic, you can learn in Arabic. Otherwise, in our own words, comfortable language that we are in, we're able to. We should make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this manner. Now, when we do istighfar, then the calamity and the adhab of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is on hold. The verse of the Quran, وَمَا كَانَ اللَّهُ لِيَعْذِبَهُمْ وَأَنْتَ فِيهِمْ وَمَا كَانَ اللَّهُ مُعَذِّبَهُمْ وَهُمْ يَسْتَغْفِرُونَ. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is told that as long as he is alive, a general punishment is not going to come on the ummah. Now, the question arises that what happens after Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given the answer, وَمَا كَانَ اللَّهُ مُعَذِّبَهُمْ وَهُمْ يَسْتَغْفِرُونَ. As long as the ummah keep seeking forgiveness then a general armed punishment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not going to come. As in the previous nation, when the punishment would come, it will take the entire nation away. But as long as the people are seeking forgiveness, now seeking forgiveness and istighfar can be done for yourself, it can be done for others. It can also be done for others, because seeking forgiveness is for the past sins. Tawbah is individual. Every person himself has to do the tawbah. That's an individual matter. But istighfar can be done. Allahumma ghfir lana wa lil mu'minina wal mu'minat wal muslimina wal muslimat. So istighfar can be done on behalf of yourself, on behalf of others. So we should make a habit, daily basis, in the morning and the evening 25 times, seek forgiveness for ourselves and take forgiveness of the believing men and the women. To do this, inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will keep away this calamity and keep away this general punishments. Yes, we may see that people are punished here and there as a group, but even then, that does not mean that we stop seeking forgiveness. I don't want to drag the topic that I was going to discuss, but inshallah, I will bring you up next week. That we must have heard about the earthquake earlier today. Earlier today. So one of the last, the 7.8 or 7.9. And one of the last news I read on Al Jazeera was 2,300 people in Turkey and Syria. Now obviously that number could have gone up. No. What are the causes of earthquake? It links to our tawbah. It links back to our tawbah. Inshallah, we'll discuss it next week. We're running out of time. Inshallah, we'll bring this topic up next week, that the importance of seeking forgiveness, importance of doing tawbah, and what are the causes of the earthquake. We have our normal understanding, and we also have our shariat and our deen in front of us as well. Inshallah, we'll discuss that in the next gathering if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wills. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the understanding. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the ability to seek forgiveness for ourselves, seek forgiveness on behalf of the ummah, and give believing men and women the understanding of and the importance of doing tawbah. Allahumma ameen. Subhanallah bihamdi. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik. Nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun. Wa salamun ala al-mursalin walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin bi rahmatika ya arhamar rahimin.